everyone, it's Morgan Yates, and today this might be the most excited I've ever been for a video just because of the response I got from you guys about potentially making this. I literally got like the most replies to anything I've ever gotten in my life. So for today's video, I'm going to be touching on as many things you guys asked as I can. Try to come up with kind of like a good, I don't know, order to go through this video, answering questions. I hope that this is helpful. If you guys have any other questions, any other tips, anything like that, I would love to hear from you in the comments. I'm going to hop right in. I guess just for some quick background, if you don't follow me over on Instagram or watch my vlog channel, or especially lately on my TikTok, I've been doing a lot of hosting stuff and like event prep, event recap, things like that. Just to give you a little taste and some background on some of the events I'm going to be referencing throughout this video. Recently, I just held a big Friendsgiving at my place where I rented a bunch of furniture, had about like 20-ish people over. It was a potluck style, and I just really went all out with like the table decor, and you guys loved it. And then before that, I hosted a Halloween party at my house that was actually Harry Potter themed, so I turned my house into Hogwarts. Again, tons of stuff on that over on TikTok if you want to see like the day-to-day behind the scenes of that. That was definitely the most like niche thing I've ever put together. I'm also a big fan of throwing a little dinner party. I did one of those back at my last house outside. That was probably my most like elaborate little classy dinner party I've had. Before that, in my backyard at my old place, I had this little outdoor movie night for Giselle's birthday. It was a Parent Trap themed movie night. Before that, I hosted a pride party at my house. That was actually pretty easy. I feel like just because it's straight into the point, it's like rainbow everything and you're good. But before that, me and my friends Caitlin and Victoria put together this big Coachella party, just since music festivals again were happening this year, and that was definitely our most expensive thing we've ever done. Then before that, for my birthday this past year, restaurants were closed here in LA. I normally go to this restaurant called Catch, and since I couldn't go, I decided to recreate their like iconic entryway with all these lights and florals outside in my house as well, and we like Postmated the food and had that be a big thing that the founders actually saw, and then we got a free dinner, which was like a top moment in my life. And then some other standout things from like last year, me and my friends had this big Christmas cocktail competition when we did our Christmas card shoot, and then for last Halloween we had another cocktail competition where we all dressed up as different Britney Spears looks. So I just wanted to include that to have some reference points so you know what I'm talking about as I'm bringing up specific examples throughout the video. Let's just hop right into your questions. The thing that people asked over and over that I definitely got the most questions about is the budget. People are curious about what I spend on all of these things, as well as a bunch of people asking for budget-friendly tips. To be straight up, for like especially the most recent events, I've spent probably like $1,500 on each of those at least, to be honest. That's due to a number of factors, including my inability to not go over the top. I've not really asked other people to do a lot, to bring a lot, to like pitch in really. I'm gonna go through kind of just every way and every budget tip that you can make your events so budget friendly. So don't let that scare you away. I just say that because I feel like people ask that all the time, and I feel like that can provide some insight. I also talked to my sister who's actually a student, and she loves hosting stuff too, which makes me so happy about like what her realistic budgets are. She said like $150 to host something, so I'm kind of gonna reference her throughout as well, and some tips that she actually gave me to share. So similarly, a question I got a lot is, do I have people pay? Is there a cover charge? Just generally how to get people to pitch in if that is something that you want or need to do. I feel like if you're wanting to host something and kind of like have people pay a fee, like some people kind of reference, I think the only fair way to go about that would be to kind of include your friends in the planning process and ask them like, hey guys, I've been thinking about hosting such and such thing, like would you be interested, and like would you be willing to contribute X amount of money? I don't necessarily think it's fair to like invite people, have them RSVP, and then like send them a Venmo request, but I think asking in advance and like giving people that option is like a totally valid thing if you want to split the cost, as well as just like I feel like it's really easy if you're having a dinner party, especially with close friends, to ask if they'd be willing to split the cost of groceries. I just feel like communication as early on as possible pertaining to like getting other people to pay is key. So another way to kind of divide costs aside from like charging straight up cash is just to have people bring different things. For example, my Friendsgiving was a big potluck. Any kind of dinner party can easily be a potluck. I just sent out a little like Google sheet that people could edit and sign up for whatever they wanted to bring. I would recommend letting people sign up for what they want, so it's something that they can be excited to bring rather than just like dictating it. As the host, it can be a good idea to have some extra like serving dishes on hand, as well as a necessity that I'm so glad I thought of at the last minute was buying additional big like serving spoons and serving utensils, because people, unless you tell them, do not think to bring that on their own. No one brought that. That's just something you probably want to have. Even with like 20 people, I somehow had enough like real plates. I did have to buy more silverware. I had enough wine glasses just because I bought a ton for events in the past and knew that those would get reused over and over. But a budget-friendly way to go about actual place settings could either be just buying like plastic plates that look real. There are ones that like look really nice even though they're just plastic. Same for like gold silverware that are plastic. That also does make the cleanup easier. To keep you as the host from having to provide alcohol for everyone, which adds up so much, a fun thing to do can actually be like having some kind of cocktail competition. It's not really competition. I guess we don't ever really vote, but my friends get really excited about coming up with a really fun drink and making it for everyone. And when you do that, like that person is is bringing everything for their drink for the whole group. That's also just a fun activity to like have the party be really fun versus just like standing around, since everyone's invested in it. Also, if you're having some kind of really big party, you can always just tell people, you know, it's BYOB, they can bring what they want to drink. Another thing I've done before that I also see other friends do when they have parties is saying when they send out the invite, I'm gonna have this there, but if you want something else, bring that, or if you want to bring extra, whatever. Also, it's just like a courtesy thing as a guest. I feel like that is something nice to do. So just some budget tips there. Costco is also a great place to get food and alcohol in bulk if you want to save money. Just overall, in my experience, people always ask what to bring, and I usually say nothing because I'm a control freak. But seriously, like, take advantage of that, hop on it, like let everyone kind of contribute their portion. Another budget tip, if you have flexibility and you're wanting to do something kind of over a meal, maybe consider doing a brunch instead of a dinner, just because I feel like I just feel like brunch food is more affordable than like providing some chicken or steak to like each person. You know what I mean? I don't know. Moving on to everything decor. First of all, tips for decorating on a budget. I get literally all of my decor from Amazon, maybe like a thing or two from TJ Maxx. I also talked to my sister where she gets her stuff on a budget. She sent me a bunch of links to like gift sets on Amazon. I'm gonna have a ton of links to like as many things that I've bought in the past or that I recommend as possible, like a ton of those in the description box. So you can get a whole pack of like all your decorations for something like a birthday party, just all in one. Again, same thing for like plates, cups, napkins, silverware, everything like that. You can get in a big pack on Amazon there. My tip here, if you have a little bit of flexibility and budget, would be to invest in items that you can use over and over. So you guys asked what those items are. Like at this point, I'm good to host like a dinner party any night of the week. I like have everything on hand. Friendsgiving is actually the first time ever, so like in years, that I've bought a new table runner or placemats. Like every time I've hosted anything meal related, I've been using the same trusty placemats, same table runner, same cloth napkins. I'm still using the same napkin rings. I will have those linked. I ask for all this stuff for Christmas, like the little touches that elevate it, like wine coolers or wine decanters, or like all these extra things that I feel like collectively make things seem very over the top. Like those are not essential. So the trusty things I use over and over, literally no matter what the event is. First of all, candlesticks. I feel like lighting is everything. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. I have so many different like candlestick holders for tapered candles. I use those like constantly. Again, some good, probably neutral placemats, as well as like table runner. Those you'll use over and over. Again, napkin rings have been a staple for me. And then a decorative element I have no matter what I'm hosting is always just florals. So making sure you have a few vases on hand, as well as serving dishes. So next, for how I find decor and plan out my theme. Inspiration photos are everything. I Google a photo and I copy it. So when I get an idea like Harry Potter, I'll do a little Amazon search, start seeing what I see, and then even just getting ideas from like the products that are available, and like going through related products and going through review photos to see what other people have done with those items and getting ideas that way. With Harry Potter, thinking of little moments in the movies that I want to like give a nod to with the decor, like the owls and packages, or like the Harry Potter invite letters. For my catch birthday, because I couldn't go to the restaurant, I was literally like Googling photos of the restaurant and like trying to straight up copy it. Copy the exact light, copy the color of the florals they had. For Friendsgiving, literally copying straight up everything. I don't even know whose it was, unfortunately. Like whatever you want to do, just go to Google Images and type in like dinner table setting. Even when it comes to flower arrangements, like Google photos of those and like copy what you see. Another planning detail I like to think about with each event is, do I want some kind of like photo op moment? For Harry Potter, I made this like newspaper wall thing that everyone took photos in front of. For Coachella, we spent a lot of money on this like photo moment installation. Another photo op for Pride, me and Giselle DIY'd this like rainbow balloon arch that was really easy. That was just a little set on Amazon. Totally not essential, but just like that is something that goes through my mind while I'm planning. Someone asked, things you think that make the special touch. So thinking along these lines is what I love the most. I feel like it's what makes you look like you're like a really good party planner. So a detail that went along with that like Parent Trap movie night is that at each person's seat, I had put a little individual pack of Oreos and like a little like Jif peanut butter thing at each seat, just because that's like the snack from the movie, whatever. Also for that, which was Giselle's birthday, I found on Amazon this like movie ticket shadow box thing, and had set out these like little cards and different pens so that people could write what they love about her and put it in the little shadow box. I feel like if you're hosting something for someone else for like a birthday or anything, having some kind of thoughtful touch can really just like mean a lot to the person. For Harry Potter, I tried to think of a food item that was really on theme, and I decided to make these little snitches. And one really easy, cheap thing you can do that I feel like is just like the icing on the cake is making a printed out menu. How I always do this, I buy these templates on Etsy. They're virtual downloads that take you to this website where they have all these graphics and everything like that to like design a really cute menu. For Friendsgiving, I had our whole food menu and everyone's name beside what they were bringing. I feel like if you're doing any kind of potluck thing, having people's names on the menu just like gets people excited. Someone asked how to create a tablescape. I am creatively inept. Again, just find the photo and copy it, but some details to think about for like if you're running everything for a table setting, having your table runner, having a placemat or like charger plate. I then do like a big plate and a little like dessert plate on top. Having your your silverware and your wine glasses. Then some additional like added flair things could be if you want like a fun water cup, you can even tie in some added color there. And then my decorative staples for the table, like I said, are always candles and florals. So that gives you some height, that gives you some greenery, some life to the table. I've used like floral foam in the past. More I've learned environmentally friendly alternative is to use chicken wire. That's great if you want like a low floral display that's not like blocking your view to someone. You can even like use some of the greenery and just like spread it along the table to tie in some more color there. So I guess my tips for like your table checklist is like, does your table have a structural element, which could either be table runner, placemat, charger? Does it have something with height to give a little bit more dimension? Is there like life or color on the table? And then I also additionally, this would be a candle as well, but I like having some kind of light element on the table just to like bring the vibe. Someone asked, do you rent furniture? I have. For the Coachella event, we rented some like outdoor seating and tables, as well as for Friendsgiving. Since I obviously do not have seating for 20 people, I rented some tables and chairs just at this place called Magic Jump Rental in LA. Honestly, I would not recommend renting tables and chairs for there just because that's not what they specialize in. They were in really bad condition. Things like that happen, you know, where everything does not go 100% according to plan and you just have to be able to improvise. In my case, like that's why my like main 6 dining chairs were like all in a line, like where you see those chairs when you're like coming up the stairs to like enter the space. So that way the little chipped off cheap other chairs that I rented were like other directions. You're not going to see them as much. In terms of what that cost me, those chairs I think were like $2 a rental. The tables were like $16 each. So it's more affordable than you probably think. Do a little search around your city. Again, maybe ask some questions about the condition. Alternatively, if you need more seating for like a dinner thing, if it's like close friends and chill, you can utilize like your dining table, as well as maybe just like put out some pillows on the ground around your coffee table and have that be like a second seating option. Another small space tip is maybe if where you live does not actually have enough room to host any kind of dinner party or meal, you could actually just have more of like a heavy apps and like cocktail type event. So people can still get full that way, but without like the need to sit down at like a formal dinner. Next, I got a lot of questions about how to plan the menu and the drinks. My biggest tip here is stick to what you're comfortable making. So if it's a dinner party, maybe don't like whip out a new recipe. My like only place I get my recipes is actually from Half Baked Harvest. So I highly recommend you check out her website. Literally every single thing I've ever made from her is great. She has cocktail recipes too. If it's more of a party situation, I recommend only making things that can be eaten on like a cocktail napkin, so you're not having to dirty additional plates. So a really easy crowd lover that I always make are these like goat cheese stuffed dates that like I wrap in half a piece of bacon, stick a toothpick in it, and like cook it in the oven for like 20 minutes. Those literally get consumed like no other. Like making a cheese board is super easy. Throwing out bowls with like popcorn and chips if it's like a, I don't know, big like drinking party type thing. I feel like don't overcomplicate it. People are not expecting a gourmet meal. Also, a budget tip here, if you are on a budget, I recommend always having your event or party be at kind of a non-meal time. For example, instead of hosting something at 7, which like everyone might not think to eat before they come, maybe have your party at like 8:30. That way I feel like it's a given that you're not going to be providing food for everyone. Then I got questions about how I come up with the drinks and like how to know if you have enough alcohol. When it comes to cocktails, it has either been, again, like different people bring different cocktails for like a cocktail competition type thing, or like for Harry Potter, for example, where like we did have everything here. Giselle came up with all of those. I recommend making those in advance and storing them in the fridge, either in like carafes or pitchers or whatever, or having like some drink dispensers. Amazon has some plastic ones I used to own. I want to get like some glass ones now that I'm kind of trying to invest in like nicer items, I guess. I also want to buy this book that's like batch cocktail recipes. Like instead of having to do the math yourself of like multiplying a cocktail to like make a huge amount of it, like you can also just Google batch cocktail recipes. This is also why I really love dinner parties, because it's usually just a wine and beer situation where like everyone can bring a bottle of wine. My biggest tip for getting affordable wine that's actually really good would be to get it on Wink, and right now you can actually get 4 bottles for $24.95, which is insane. So I'm gonna have that linked below if you need to stock up. And I always also have like a drink station set out with like all of the alcohol that I am like fine with people using, and anything I don't want them using that's maybe a bit more expensive, I hide. Because especially once people start having some drinks, they will get into anything. In terms of how to plan like how much alcohol you're actually going to need, in my experience, if I'm providing for everyone, I always tend to overbuy because I know that it'll get used eventually. However, again, I know that's a budget thing as well. I mentioned this earlier, but another way to be really clear on this to your friends is saying like, I'm going to have this amount, and like if you want more, bring this, or like worst case, someone can Postmate from the party if you do run out. Next, people asked how to make it fun and set the vibe, how to not be awkward when the first person shows up. So it can be really fun to have a welcome drink. So a really easy thing is just like a little champagne spritzer, like half a glass of champagne with like a little juice, maybe like some cranberries on top to make it festive, like just a cute little welcome drink that like makes people excited to be there. For Harry Potter, that was a little bit more of a night, so people got welcomed with these like potions shooters there. Or just don't overthink it, like when the first person walks in, be like, oh, what can I get you to drink? Like make them a drink, and like that's really all you need to do there. Another huge like ambiance tip is everything to do with the lighting. So super bright overhead lighting, if it's a nighttime thing, probably isn't the vibe. You want to feel like you're like in a cozy environment. So like for Friendsgiving, I actually brought like my bedroom lamps down and had those in different places to kind of provide some softer lighting. Again, candles absolutely everywhere. Next, in terms of vibe, light a candle for the purpose of it smelling good, because people are going to walk in, like they're going to smell it, and it's just going to really add to the experience, and I feel like that's something that goes overlooked. Next is of course your music. Make it fun here. Again, like you know the group and what they like to listen to. For Harry Potter, we had like Harry Potter music playing for like the arrivals, and then we switched it to like more fun stuff. I would say keep it lively, like throw in some throwbacks every few songs that like gets people's energy up, because everyone wants to like sing along, that type of thing. Or like if you're having a really classy dinner party, I don't think smooth jazz is the most like lively vibe to listen to. So at the end of the day, playing what everyone is going to have fun listening to is more important than like maintaining the integrity of the theme. So, and my last like biggest tip for like making sure it's a fun party is to always have an activity in your back pocket. People love games, so like again for Harry Potter, people came in, beer pong was set up. I'd planned like a house cup competition where I thought of all these Harry Potter themed games. I feel like having a game ready can be especially important for a dinner party where like after you eat, it's like, okay, do we stay sitting at the table and chat? Like, are we doing something else? Like I feel like things could kind of hit a lull, you know? So after Friendsgiving, we played some game, I don't even remember the name. That transition could give people who want to leave like a good opportunity to go, but at the same time like keep things moving in a fun way so that like it's not like everyone is bored and everyone wants to go. People asked how early to start setting up, so my tip here is the earlier the better. Even if it's a simple dinner party with like 6 people, I recommend setting the table the morning of or the night before. For my big themed thing, so even like Friendsgiving, because that was like a production, I started setting that up like days and days in advance. I would say get your decorating done at least the day before so that you're not having to worry about that the day of. You can just worry about the food and drinks and like getting ready yourself, which is something that I feel like I never allow enough time to do. So how I plan out the food, like for Friendsgiving, I made it scheduled the night before, scheduling things out in reverse. So starting at the time I needed to be done and working backwards, because I only have one oven, so the things that would reheat easily, like mac and cheese or like things like that, I cooked a lot earlier in the day. Or like anything that can just chill in the fridge, I make that earlier on. I got a lot of questions about who to invite and how to handle like mixing friend groups, or like if people like bring plus ones. I don't invite people to things saying like, oh, bring a plus one. Like most all of my friends, like if they're in a relationship, I know who they're dating, like that person's invited anyway. But if it's like a friend that like maybe isn't dating someone, I don't just say like bring a friend or bring whoever, unless like they don't know anyone else, I suppose, like, or they aren't very integrated into like a group that maybe everyone else is a part of. And in that case, I would say like, oh, bring a friend, that way they can feel comfortable. All my friends know each other, everyone gets along. Me and Giselle mixed our friend groups a really long time ago, and like thankfully all of our friends are social enough that like from the very beginning, like they have become friends themselves. So I guess you just have to think about like your friend groups and if they are social enough to where they're gonna mix and feel comfortable, or you have to think about if like bringing groups of your friends together is actually just gonna stress you as the host out more. And if that's the case, you might wanna just like stick to one group. That way you can actually feel more present and have more fun yourself. My biggest thing with all of like the invites and this and that, because I know like that can also be like a drama starter and like feelings can get hurt. As the host, this is not such and such who is coming to the party's party. You're the one who's putting in the most time, the most effort, like using your space, having to clean that up, like probably putting in the most money. So you do not have to invite anyone you don't want to invite, which for me, this has kind of been like something I've been trying to navigate. That's like not my favorite to navigate. I just want to host something and enjoy it without it like upsetting anyone. But speaking for myself, I know so many people, and if I were inviting absolutely everyone I'm friends with to everything I do, for me at that point, it's like this huge raging party, and that's not personally what I enjoy. Like environments that I love the most are more like small group environments with like close friends. I don't know, I just know that it's like that can all just be such a touchy thing, and I like sympathize with the struggle of like trying to figure all of that out, because I get that like everyone always wants to come. But what I remind myself is that like I'm not a restaurant. I don't like owe providing this to all these people. So like if you want to have a small group and like everyone doesn't get the invite, you have every right to do that and you shouldn't feel guilty. I then create my invites online at paperless post, and then I actually just screenshot it and I individually text people. Everyone hates a group text and I feel like people are a lot more likely to RSVP and do so quickly by texting them individually. People asked how to set an end time. That's something that you want. I would be sure to include it on the invite from the very beginning. I've never set an end time, but when I'm ready to go to bed, I just start announcing that I'm tired. People people get the vibe and then they will go home. I got a lot of questions about where I store things after events, and I get that if you're in a small space, especially like an apartment, this can be really tricky, which I feel like is also why investing in things that you're actually going to use every single time can be really great. For me, I have a decent amount of storage. I have like a big under the stairs closet. If it's dinner party items, those actually just stay in my kitchen. Literally, I have them like hidden up above my fridge. I feel like you do have to kind of get creative with things. In terms of my like very niche items, I gave to someone I know who's a teacher. I feel like a lot of my like niche things go to her to like use in her classroom. Next, people asked about who cleans up. My take on this, like I always just am the one to clean up like the next day. I put like so much time and stress into like setting everything up that when my friends like offer to like help clean up like after we're done with dinner or whatever, I don't even want to be thinking about the cleanup. I like want that whole however many hours like that night, like I want that experience to just like relax. I would just tell people to like leave it in sink or like leave it wherever, and I deal with it all the next day, which then like I'm not gonna lie, that is like my least favorite part, however, is like dealing with the cleanup. I'm not gonna lie to you, the cleanup's bad. Also, just keep in mind the level of mess you want based on what you're doing. Like when we did have beer pong out at Harry Potter, like the floors in here were actually kind of frat-like, but like Friendsgiving, it was a lot of dishes to clean up, but it wasn't like filthy, you know? And then the last thing I want to discuss here is how to stay present during the craziness of hosting. This is something that is like continually a struggle for me, at least like as parties start, because I'm always down to the wire. No matter how much I plan ahead, like there are always little details I'm wrapping up as people are getting there. I'm definitely still figuring out how to just like snap out of that like event planner mode. But my rational tips here are that whatever didn't get done, didn't get done. Your guests don't even know what didn't get done. Like they see what's in front of them. And above all, I would say like, even if nothing goes according to plan, at the end of the day, it's about the company and getting to spend time with your friends. Like there were a lot of people actually who submitted messages saying like they wish they had people to host for, or like how nice it must be to have so many friends. That was kind of like eye-opening for me as well. And hopefully for everyone else who might find themselves being stressed hosting, is to like just focus on the fact that this is about being able to spend time with the people that you love and that you are lucky to have. So that concludes the Q&A. Those are all of my hosting tips. If you guys have any more specific questions about something, let me know in the comments. And again, I'm going to try to have as many things as possible linked below. Please let me know if you like this video, because it is going to be a pain to edit. I'd also love when you guys host things if you would want to tag me in them so that I can take a look, because I just think all of this is so fun. Hope this gave you guys some ideas or some insight, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.